Welcome to episode... What the hell episode are we on? Episode 8 of the 1977 Corvette restoration. If this is your first video, welcome. I'm painting my 1977 Corvette with a coworker of mine and documenting the whole process of doing it. For those of you who have been sticking with me since the beginning, I really appreciate all of you out there that have stuck with me. Obviously, this has been a very slow process. The car is already painted. It's just I've been taking my sweet time editing the whole thing together. Obviously, I could just skip right to painting the car, but I thought this was a really good video that had a lot of interesting things happen in it. We're going to actually try out using a Preval Sprayer kit. What? Why? Once we get to that, we'll talk about it more. But for now, this is going to be the finish sanding portion. I show a couple of cool little things for people who have never tried it before or never done it before. So, take it away, Paul.
Here we are, back at the garage again today, getting the finish sanding done on the Corvette, getting ready for paint. We primered it, 2 coats of the primer, going over sanding everything with 320 grit, then 400 grit paper to get all the scratches, any imperfections out of it as much as possible. We did find a couple little places here we're going to try and putty, and then we'll primer those again and sand them and see how they end up. A couple 3 spots on the car that ended up like that. Overall, coming out pretty good, sanding out nicely.
While we were finished sanding the car, there was a few spots that we found that we went a little too hard and went down past the primer. And you can see that in this clip here. We didn't worry about it, we just continued sanding, and you don't have to worry about that, we just paint right over that. Damn it, I had just hit record as you probably said car. In case if you didn't see that, this is what happened.
And this is the ass of my car.
So I just wanted to showcase real quick, what we're feeling for when it comes to doing this finish sanding. It's almost the same thing as when we did finish sanding when we were sanding the car down, prepping it for primer. It's gonna look pretty good, but it's gonna feel really rough to the touch. So you gotta find all the spots that are rough to the touch. They'll even look a little visually different. They'll kind of look a little scaly. Here's more of the scaling I'm referring to. You see how it's all scaly like that? So that's all rough to the touch. It's very slight. And you just basically gotta hit it with 400 grit. Paul's sometimes bringing it down to 320. Sometimes you're gonna see spots where all of a sudden it'll feel like it's getting caked with a bunch of the powdery primer, and you should be able to sand that until it doesn't. So basically, it's not rough anymore because all those rough spots are ripping all that primer that's on your sanding pad.
We were sanding, you should have seen it. He's playing a real cool old song from the 1960s, and we got half the car done in the time the song was over. I can't say what song it is because he said I'll get in trouble for it if I do, but it was
Pat Travers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a kick-ass song, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
They're cleaning off some of the spots that have the gouges in them. It's hard to see. Oh, there we go. There's one. And these ones are really tough to see. But they're small little scrapes and dings and bings and bongs and tings and tongs. Sometimes you use a combination of 320, 400, and scuff pads. The scuff pads are mostly meant for ultra curved surfaces like the mirror. Oh my God, we're putting spots on it.
Bleeding.
Oh. So we got the heater going right now. We're bringing the temperature up a little bit above 55, 56 degrees. And then we're going to try out the Preval Sprayers on the door jambs and see how well that works. Okay, so probably your first question you're going to ask is, why the hell did we use Preval Sprayers on all of the work that we had put into the whole prep? And then we're going to go ahead and use Preval Sprayers? Well, the thought process was that we were going to paint the inside of the hood, take the hood, put it back on the car so that we didn't have to keep it separate from everything else and we could just paint it all in one shot. So we just thought it was easier to not set up the whole paint gun and the whole kit and caboodle, to just use these little Preval sprayers. And surprisingly, you'll notice that they actually do a decent job. However, you're going to see in this next clip that Paul puts one coat on, and then you're going to notice there's a bit of runs that go through, and it just doesn't look very good. And we've come to find out that the reason why is you got to do a really light fogging coat on your first spray, which we didn't do. And so we go back the next morning, sand it back down, and do it again, and you'll see that here in this next clip. But it turns out that, you know, fast forwarding into the future, we didn't end up doing what we planned on initially doing, which was shutting the doors when we went to actually go paint the rest of the car. We still had to do open the doors up and get in certain spots, and so you know, this just kind of serves as a review of using a Preval sprayer in the real world, which for your money, I mean, it's not that bad. And especially if you got to do any touch-up spots, I don't see any problem with them. You just got to make sure to read the directions and not expect, you know, paint gun results, because again, it's just like spray paint in your car. So let's check it out. It's milk. have some spots here that the paint is not sticking to. Paul says possibly because of oil or something that got in there that's not allowing the paint to stick, so we'll probably sand it out, put another coat on, and see if we can't make this look a little nicer.
I'm not going to worry too much about the runs on the inside. Where it's built up like that, you can take the tape and knock the edge of it off. Makes it a lot easier to sand it.
Can you usually sand runs out or no?
You can, but that's a high spot. See, and
Yep.
if you're not careful, sanding that high spot, you're not going to get it flat. So if you take your tape while it's still sticky like that, you knock that edge off, and then it makes it a heck of a lot easier to sand out. See, we'll scuff all this anyways because we're going to paint the whole car.
Right.
So you don't want this overspray on there because your new paint won't stick to it. So we're going to scuff that, make sure it's all flat anyways. Look, I got like your mountain scene right there on the back of your car. So like I say, just knock the top of that off, and when you go to sand it, it'll feather out a lot easier.
Holy sh! Now I see what you're talking about.
Where the hell did that come from?
Oh, my damn painter screwed up my paint.
And this 5-year-old kid come out here and draw the car.
It's giving us a preview of what the rest of the car is going to look like.
I hope not. Not with the runs in there like that.
Is that from like it just being put on too thick?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of holes and stuff in there from where the previous owner did the body repair, and yeah, it wasn't covering real good for one, so I wanted to just use up what I had in there. All we really want to do is just cover the cut-ins here a little bit. I just got a little crazy on the one edge here, I guess.
All right, so it's the next morning, and we're trying to undo what we did yesterday, sand it all off. No, we're just scuffing it up and seeing how it looks.
There was a spot where I took the tape, it had a run right there where it was heavy. I just ran the sandpaper over it a little bit, and it took that right out. And it's still a little bit tacky, filling the paper up. We can dry the rest of the way.
So this is all basically dry? Huh. Yeah, that looks a hell of a lot better.
Okay, quit looking at it before you f it up.
And there you have it. So, for those of you who have stuck around, I really appreciate it. We're so close now. I mean, oh my god, the suspension is killing me. The next episode is going to be painting the car. And then after that, I have one more episode planned, which is going to be polishing the car at post painting it. So that'll be something interesting to watch, but stay tuned. We're very close to the end. 2 more episodes, and this car is done being painted. I really appreciate you guys watching. If there's any feedback, make sure to leave a comment, and of course, like the video if you like it. If you don't, get the hell out of here!